A little backstory: my best friend and I met in middle school, and we've been friends ever since. We've been there for each other through thick and thin, and when she got married, I was a maid of honor, and similarly, she was mine at my wedding. And as such, I was her shoulder to cry on during her divorce 6 years later, though at that time she didn't tell me the reason for said divorce. Anyway, my husband and I were married for 5 years at this point, and due to him consistently traveling for work and our ongoing arguments, I felt a disconnect in our marriage. It got so bad one night that he had to sleep in the guest room, and because he was traveling early the next morning, it meant he might leave without saying goodbye to me. So, sure enough, he left without so much as a word to me. That action alone made me feel so unwanted and unattractive that I convinced my best friend to accompany me to a pub to blow off some steam. I showed at her apartment because I knew she had 50% custody of her 2 kids and had to move out of her marital home, so she had most of her evenings free. We arrived at the local pub, and I immediately went for a strong stuff to try and drown out my frustration, whereas my friend stuck to orange juice, which is surprising considering the fact that she drinks the most between the two of us. As the evening went on, there was this guy who kept approaching me. He was gentle in his speech and confident in his words, and I wouldn't lie, after all the arguments I was coming from, this was like a breath of fresh air. To this day, I'm not sure why I found myself confiding in a total stranger about the issues in my marriage. As we talked, he would comment on how my husband was an idiot for leaving such a beautiful wife in a time of need. Cheesy and dumb. Yeah, I know, but it seemed to go with the mood. And how there were many men who would jump at the chance to fill his role. Me not being in my right mind to realize this total stranger was disrespecting my husband, which in turn was disrespecting my marriage, didn't even stop him as he held my hand and moved his chair closer to mine. He then leaned forward, but right before he got too close, I heard a thump and a loud crash, and I saw him on the floor. I looked up to see my best friend behind him. She stepped over him, grabbed my hand, and pulled me out of the pub. Whatever alcohol was in my system must have evaporated just from the look she gave me. As soon as we were outside, she exploded. She asked me how could I be so stupid, and if I realized what I would have jeopardized if she didn't intervene. There was a moment of silence after her initial outburst. She took a deep breath, led me to one out of the outside benches, and told me the real reason for her divorce. Like me, she was having communication issues in her marriage, and due to the constant fighting, she found herself confiding in a male co-worker. Unfortunately, it developed into a 5-month affair. During that time, she was crippled, guilty, but equally so intoxicated with lust. It only ended because her husband found a video of her and her OM in her Facebook Messenger. She said the look of defeat, shame, and anger in her husband's eyes made her realize the gravity of what she had done. She begged him for a second chance. She was willing to do anything to save her marriage and family, even to the point of allowing him to sleep with another woman. This only enraged him, and he pushed for divorce and full custody of the children with her video as evidence. She said, ever since being exposed, whatever lust or affection she had for her OM disappeared without a trace. She has since blocked him on all forms of contact and found another job. She then held my hand and told me she has to live with the fact that the only home her children will ever know will be a broken one, and it came about her hands. She also added how no words exist to express the guilt and regret she feels each time she opens her eyes every morning, that she would gladly give a kidney if it meant she could have her family back. She pleaded with me not to be like her, not to go down a road even remotely similar to hers, that as long as I have a chance to work on my marriage, I should take it with both hands and hold on tight. It's been 6 years since that night, and honestly, I can say my marriage has improved greatly. Not perfect, but improved. We've been blessed with 2 beautiful twin boys. We don't argue as much, but when we do fight, we absolutely end it with a kiss. The kiss, my idea. I found it incredibly sad that one of the major contributors to the success of my marriage was the failure of my best friend. Story 2. I want advice on my wife's idea to fix our marriage after she cheated. I, 35 male, recently learned that my wife, 33 female, cheated on me about 1.5 years ago. My wife and I have been together for nearly 4 years, married for 2. January 7th will be the 4 years anniversary of our first date. On December 26th, we were doing a Zoom game night with 3 other married couples. We were playing Never Have I Ever. If you don't know the game, it's a drinking game. One person says something they have never done, and anyone who has done it takes a drink. It's a fun game that can lead to some funny stories. One of the women, let's call her Amy, said what she has never done. I'm pretty sure this was meant as a joke. I haven't talked to Amy since this happened, but I don't think there was any intention or maliciousness or anything like that. Amy said, "Never have I ever cheated on my spouse." Remember, there were 4 married couples playing. If you guessed that my wife took a drink, then you were correct. Everyone laughed and shrugged it off as a joke, even me. Several people made jokes about it, and I even said something like, "I guess we're getting divorced in 2021. The game night continued as if the incident was forgotten and it didn't get brought up again. Literally everyone seemed to think it was a joke and didn't give it a second thought. But I noticed a slight change in my wife's manner. After the game night, I questioned her and she tried to dismiss it, but I kept asking. She seemed visibly shaken. Eventually, she admitted that she cheated on me a few times during the summer of 2019. She said it was with only one guy and she is not in touch with him in any form and she feels really bad about it. The guy was an employee at a company but worked on the West Coast. We live on the East Coast and he was in town for a couple of weeks for some projects. While she was working late, she went back to his hotel room a couple of times. When the project was over, he went back. Apparently, he is married with children back there. My wife is no longer at the company. She lost her job due to the COVID situation, but I earned plenty of money, so there was no issue. She was doing some freelance stuff online, but she has pretty much been a full-time housewife over the past year. It is difficult to completely describe her emotional state over the past week, but she seemed to be quite a wreck. She is constantly apologizing and begging me to come back to the main bedroom. I've been sleeping in the guest room. She tells me about all the ways she has tried to be a better wife over the past year because she realized what mistakes she made. I will admit, We don't have disagreements or anything anymore. I guess I didn't notice it, but she doesn't get angry at me about anything anymore. Like I said, she has been a great housewife, cooking and cleaning and everything. She lets me relax after work, and she has been initiating sex frequently, often just performing oral if I feel too tired. I definitely feel like we have been having more sex, and she doesn't seem to have been a more caring and attentive partner. While I feel dumb most of the day, I get these waves of anger and hatred like I've never felt. Now to my question at hand. She has been begging me every day to give our marriage a second chance. I don't know if it's relevant, but we don't have any kids. The house belongs to my parents actually. My father made a fortune in real estate. A lot of my financial assets are already pretty well protected due to some help from my father's accountant. So I'm not too worried about getting a divorce. But I already reached out to my lawyer. My wife keeps coming to me with different ideas on how to fix the marriage. A couple of hours ago, she suggested opening the marriage on my end, but keeping it closed on hers, and that this would continue for as long as I need it. I've been sitting here having a drink or two, and it sounds like it's worth a shot. What's the worst that could happen? I'm tempted to get her to agree to it on video. She has even said she will help me find women. I'm definitely considering her offer, although she wants me to do marriage counseling at the same time. I just don't know what to do. Has this worked for anyone? It sounds tempting, but also that is too good to be true. Thank you for watching.